The 20 player squad, I guess, rule in the Victory League came about through a number of reasons. Mainly was the reason that clubs were concerned that would potentially create 8 super clubs by having no restrictions on the number of players that are eligible to play Victory League in any one season. So I guess the squad of 20 was one reason, was to protect clubs outside of the Victory League from the fear that they'll lose a lot of players to the Victory League. The idea of the Victory League was to only attract the most talented players from some of the underpinning clubs, and players still stay within their club frameworks up until that level. Second reason was we're working towards a player point system, which is part of the whole National Premier League concept, is that a squad of players meet a certain number of points, and I guess the player point system works against a player payment system. It regulates players, it regulates squads, and it works towards avoiding against people paying lots of money for players and being able to charge juniors astronomical amounts of money to fund that process. So I guess that's the reason behind a 20-man squad in the first instance. I guess as the rules stand at the moment, it's a 20-man squad, and you need to nominate those players. There was a window in there before round 10 that you can make 3 substitutions to that squad to allow for players that may have gained form or improved or developed or have come to the state prior to round 10 to be added to the Victory League squad. There's also the long-term injury replacement rule, which allows you to substitute a player that will miss 6 weeks or more. But certainly the 20-man squad is in place for this year, and that's the reason, I guess, why you can't at this stage promote players from outside the squad. There's a criteria for every club participating in their relevant member federation state league was that their state league squad is underpinned by the very best young talent, and that's deemed to be the under 20 age group, with some overage exception for players returning from injury, regaining form, etc. So I guess nationally it's seen that underpinning your first team, which in our case is in the Victory League, is underpinned by the most talented under 20 side that we can muster together. So that's, I guess, why the reason under 20s were brought in for that aspect. Well, ironically, the 20-man squad is one of those, certainly to ensure that they still continue to have the very best talent they can. We've only integrated a Victory League at the senior level, which means that these clubs outside of the Victory League still play against Victory League clubs at all levels within their region, and I think that's important. And certainly there will be things in place. What happens is, for the next term of the Victory League, be it the next 3 years from 2016 onwards, we'll look to a criteria-based application form, and that will be offered to existing Victory League clubs and clubs outside of the Victory League at present that have shown that they're able to meet the criteria and create a compelling case for entry into the league. So at the end of this 3-year term, or in the 3rd year of this first term, we'll offer a criteria-based application form to clubs both within and clubs aspiring to be in the Victory League, and just see if they're able to present a very compelling case for entry. In the current structure, it's very hard to achieve a promotion relegation system. I guess a key part of the application and criteria process for Victory League was that clubs would receive a 3-year buffer to improve and develop within that period. Promotion and relegation isn't off the table completely. Under the current competition structure, it's very difficult to do, and as I guess the board have said that the way forward in the short term is around criteria-based applications. That will be constantly reviewed like we review everything going forward. It's not off the agenda forever. In the short term, it's probably taken a back seat. The idea of the Victory League is to develop quality clubs both on and off the field that offer pathways all the way through, that are financial, that offer very good development programs and activities to engage the community. So in the short term, it's definitely around criteria-based applications to get and reward the best quality clubs in the most highest competition they can play. I guess measures in place within the Victory League in that is that you're able to make 3 squad changes up to round 10. So a player that potentially starts the year not in your top 20 but improves out of sight has the potential to do that in and before round 10. After round 10, it's locked. Again, these criteria and rules were put in place I guess November of 2012. We've learnt a lot from season 1 as we've continued to learn about our regulations, and as always we sit down with our clubs towards the end of the year, towards the end of the playing season, to to really work out what's worked, what hasn't worked, what's they've had frustrations with, and how we're able to achieve them through regulations that are for the good of the game statewide. First year of the Victory League throws up a lot of situations you can't think of prior to the season, and now with these examples that we have, we'll use them in our planning for future years for the good of the game, and I think that's important. We do that every year. We work with our club presidents who are representative of their member clubs, and we encourage them to seek feedback and talk to the rest of their club around issues that they're facing, bring them to the president's meetings, and as a game we solve them and work collaboratively to do that. Retention is our paramount importance for the game. As I said, we have no problems recruiting, but we have problems with retention for a number of reasons that all sports face. So as a sport, we need to retain these players from the 10, 11, 12 age group into youth football, and then youth footballers into senior. We've written into our criteria application that clubs have very strong relationships and pathways all the way down to encourage players through the pathway, and that there's a ready step for them next year. There was a pilot of a program on the Eastern region this year where all the Eastern region junior association clubs were paired with the 3 clubs on the Eastern Shore, and I look forward to the feedback around that as potentially a model to roll out throughout the rest of the state. I guess in Launceston the system works well, where the clubs feed right down into the junior association, but certainly work to be done on the northwest coast and in southern Tasmania on linking our juniors 6 to 12s into youth and senior football. Well, an under-18 competition was offered this year. We didn't have the numbers to run that this year, but it's something we would like to see. Again, we're a small participation base to be able to have 18s and 20s, and at the moment under 20s is the preferred age group because it's a bit more of a catch-all. You can get 17, 18 and 19-year-old children to play within an under 20s league. We did offer an 18s this year and it didn't work in the south. There's an 18s league obviously in the north, in the Northern Premier League competition. So it is a priority age group for us. It is important, but we encourage clubs to have a large volume of players and keep a large volume of players engaged so that we do have all levels of the pathway covered, that being 12s, 14s, 16s, 18s, into 20s and senior football. I've got meetings with the club presidents this month coming up to discuss competition structures. Again, we've had some preliminary chats. It is something we would consider, but there are complications and costs that come with that we'll work through. But certainly there is an intention to improve the amount of statewide football activity that we have at all levels, and if that means going down to an underpinning age group, I think it'd be quite a positive thing, but there's a lot of things we need to do to make sure that we certainly get that right. There's other things that we can do more on a regional base as well, through cup competitions and pre-season, where we can give people a bit more statewide focus for their under 20s. Unlikely to happen in the next 5 years. It's not our agenda to be running a bid for an A-League team. It's something we support from increasing the foothold of the A-League in Tasmania, and to do that we believe the partnership we've got in place with Melbourne Victory now gives us the best possible chance to do that. FFA have made it very clear in terms of expansion that nothing will happen before 2018, and for anything to happen, our priority is to make sure the local game's strong, have a very strong working partnership with an existing A-League club that really does test the water for the amount of A-League activity that can happen in Tasmania. So we're confident we've got a very strong partner in Melbourne Victory to do that, and we look to roll out increased A-League content over many years, but not through a dedicated Tasmanian team in the short to mid term.